Chapter 2261. Everything changed. Jian Wushuang and his parents did not stay at Tang of the East for long. Next stop, they went to the star Foggy Sea. He had become a disciple of the lineage of stars there, learnt the secret skills of Star Palace, and met King of Venomous Worms. The star Foggy Sea was still a dangerous place, managed by two people. They were Lord Spirit Sound and King of Venomous Worms. King of Venomous Worms had long stopped leeching off of Jian Wushuang and stayed at Star Foggy Sea. Occasionally, he would morph into a human and roam around Green Fire World. The few drops of ancient clan blood essence were enough for him to live on for a long period of time. As for Lord Spirit Sound was from the ancient era, and Jian Wushuang was sure that she was not the insignificant character she claimed to be. Lord Spirit Sound was under the 7-star Black Sect camp. Only the fittest survived that war. Lord Spirit Sound should be no exception. But if Lord Spirit Sound was not willing to divulge her identity and abilities, Jian Wushuang would not force the matter. Lord Spirit Sound had stayed in the star Foggy Sea ever since. They spun around without bothering either of them and left. Next, he was at the Firmament Territory. Firmament Territory seemed like a humble frontier in the Green Fire World. But it meant worlds to Jian Wushuang. It was where the Ancient Sect was. The Ancient Sect was the sect Jian Wushuang had truly joined besides the lineage of Star, and he had always felt a sense of belonging there. There, he had met his master Xianxia, and his life had changed since. Even then, he was confused about why Xianxia appeared within the Ancient Sect, and why he had taken him as his disciple. He had never understood it. But he knew for sure that he would not be the man he was without his master. Ancient Sect was in the middle of a large mountain range. He stood on the void above the Ancient Sect, watching over everything. Ever since Green Fire World's cultivating environment had changed tremendously, every frontier had been affected, and Firmament Territory was no exception. Thinking back, there had only been 4 Dao Masters at Ancient Sect and they were considered extremely strong. Now, Dao Masters, they were nothing more than ants. Green Fire World now had countless cultivators of Dao Master level and above. They even had plentiful Heaven Masters, Sector Gods, and Real Gods. Ancient Sect has managed to remain standing after all those years not only due to Jian Wushuang, but because they had 3 Almighties. One of them was his brother Xianxia. He had 3 clan brothers, but after the war between the Jin Kingdom, only Xianxia had survived. He now held a high position within the Green Fire World. Next was Jian Wushuang's own lineal disciple Lin Lan. Lin Lan had limited talents. His original limit had been at Real God. But she had an incredible master, and Jian Wushuang doted on her a lot. Jian Wushuang had gone through several methods to help her break through and had finally helped her reach Sir God after consuming a high-level elixir found by Wang Yuan. But Jian Wushuang would only help her up to the Sir God level. Jian Wushuang could make her an Emperor God with enough resources, but it was not necessary. Being a Sir God was enough for her to roam the eternal chaotic world. Wushuang, you want to go down and take a look? Jian Nantian asked. Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming had been beside Jian Wushuang for some time but realized he had not moved an inch. It's fine, Jian Wushuang waved his hand. There was no need to interact with the Ancient Sect cultivators. He made frequent contact with Xianxia and Lin Lan anyway. Next, let's head to Ancient Worlds, Jian Wushuang said. Ancient Worlds? Nanyang Land. Jian Nantian flinched. Nanyang Land was where they had been born. And the Sword Marquis Mansion, the Sword Pavilion. Jian Wushuang remembered that when he was young, he had trained like mad to take over from his father as Master of Sword Pavilion. The last time he had been there, he had known that the Sword Marquis Mansion in Nanyang Land had been eradicated, but its successors had remained. Jian Wushuang and his parents made their way there and started searching. Even after countless generations, they could sense them via bloodline. Not long after, they found the descendants of the Sword Marquis Mansion. Unexpectedly, they came to a large imperial city of a great dynasty. His descendants, the Jian clan, were the royal family. They were in their prime. Not bad, huh? Jian Nantian looked at the imperial city from above with interest. I requested the Ancient Sect to take care of the descendants, to make sure the lineage does not end. They should have followed my request and nothing more. Really impressive that they could make a dynasty out of it, Jian Wushuang laughed. The last time he had been at the ancient worlds, only a few people of the Sword Marquis mansion survived, and they were mediocre. But after a few thousands of years, everything had changed. Not only had the Sword Marquis mansion lineage passed things down, but they also created a dynasty. "It's a shame they won't recognize us ancestors," Jian Nantian said. "Of course," Jian Wushuang smiled. Tens of thousands of years was not considered too long at Green Fire World or Eternal Chaotic World, but it was too long for the ancient worlds. The Sword Marquis mansion had seen countless generations across those years. Of course, the descendants would not know about them. They would not know about the Sword Marquis mansion, or Jian Wushuang. The person they worshipped now was the great man that started the dynasty 1,000 years ago. Despite Jian Wushuang being endlessly stronger than that clansman, they did not recognize him. "Let's go." Jian Wushuang waved his hand and they left. 2262 set off. Jian Wushuang and his parents went to visit many other places. 200 years passed in the blink of an eye. Green Fire World, Wushuang City. A large number of people were gathered there. All of the higher-ups from the Green Fire World and Lineage of Stars were there. Jian Wushuang was in front of everyone. "Sword Emperor, Emperor Bai wants to tell you that the Sanctuary Alliance is ready. Once you are ready to go, they can send you to Heaven's Horizon immediately," one of the Emperor God from Sanctuary Alliance said. "Understood." Jian Wushuang nodded his head as he looked at the people in front of him. Among these people were his family members, his brothers, his good friends and his disciples. Jian Wushuang looked at them with mixed feelings. "Brother," Wang Yuan said as he gave Jian Wushuang a bottle of elixir. "Wang Yuan, what is this?" Jian Wushuang asked, curious. "There are 2 elixirs inside this bottle. It took me some effort to make it. Take it. You might need it at Heaven's Horizon," Wang Yuan said. Jian Wushuang opened the bottle in disbelief. He was stunned when he saw the 2 elixirs. Both the elixirs were cream in color and radiated a seductive fragrance. Many experts yearned to have these elixirs. Jian Wushuang recognized this type of elixir. 7 Treasure Divine Elixir. Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised. He had had of these elixirs a long time ago. Emperor Bai had given him one when he first sneaked into the 3 Emperors' world so he could use it just in case his life was in danger. However, Jian Wushuang had still not made use of it. Now, Wang Yuan was giving him 2 of these elixirs. Back in the ancient past, the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir was an extremely high-grade elixir and was very beneficial for Jian Wushuang. This elixir recovered divine power extremely quickly. When Jian Wushuang was still in the first phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation, one of these elixirs was enough for him to recover all of his divine power. Now that he was in the ultimate phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation, he had much more divine power than before. However, the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir was still an extremely useful elixir. Jian Wushuang estimated that all of his divine power could be recovered if he took all 3 7 Treasure Divine Elixirs at the same time. Divine power was extremely important for Jian Wushuang as he was in the 7th step inverse cultivation and he possessed the perfect chaotic holy body. If he could recover most of his divine power within a short period of time, it would be equivalent to him having many extra lives. "Wang Yuan, older brother, since when can you make such an incredible elixir?" Jian Wushuang asked Wang Yuan in disbelief. "Sigh. I wanted to try to make this elixir a long time ago, but I always failed to do so. Recently, I locked myself in the secret room and swore that I would only leave after making at least one of the 7 Treasure Divine Elixirs. I was pretty lucky as I made 2, Wang Yuan smiled. Jian Wushuang heard this and felt really grateful. He knew that Wang Yuan was a very easygoing and lazy man. He was considered the best alchemist in the eternal chaotic world. When people looked for him for his service, he would not bother with them. Even if he agreed because his clients offered him sufficient rewards, he would only make the elixir in his own time. Jian Wushuang thought that Wang Yuan would not try to make the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir as he had already failed several times. However, Wang Yuan had actually forced himself into a secret room to focus on making this elixir. Jian Wushuang knew that Wang Yuan had done this as Wang Yuan had gotten to know from Emperor Bai that the 7 Treasure Divine Elixir would be an extremely useful elixir for him when Jian Wushuang's soul was severely injured and he had gone into deep slumber. Wang Yuan had spent more than 20,000 years making the ice soul elixir just so that he could recover. Without a doubt, Wang Yuan viewed Jian Wushuang as a true brother. "Thank you, older brother Wang Yuan," Jian Wushuang smiled. "Ha ha. We are brothers. Why are you so polite?" Wang Yuan smiled casually. "Please return early, bro," Su Ru said with a serious tone. As Jian Wushuang's brother and sister, Su Ru and Wang Yuan both hoped that Jian Wushuang could bring his wife back. After all, Su Ru was not an alchemist like Wang Yuan. All she could do was give him her good wishes. For Jian Wushuang, that was more than enough. "Father, mother, all of you, I shall be on my way." Jian Wushuang waved everyone goodbye as he turned and left. Everyone there had mixed emotions as they watched him leave. "My dear husband, why do I feel like he will not return?" Ji Wuming knitted her eyebrows and said, "What are you talking about? You and I both know how capable Wushuang is. Who in this heaven and earth could beat him? He will definitely come back, trust me." Jian Nantian comforted her gently. "Yes," Ji Wuming nodded her head. Even though Jian Nantian had spoken firmly, he too was not confident in what he'd just said. Even he had the feeling that Jian Wushuang would not return. After Jian Wushuang left the Green Fire World, he headed straight for Thunderbolt Island. Numerous great emperors had already gathered on Thunderbolt Island. These great emperors like King Chen Xing, King Luo Yu and Black Dragon Emperor came from the special tribes, and there were some from the Sanctuary Alliance as well. News of a link passage opening up at Heaven's horizon spread like wildfire across the higher-ups in the eternal chaotic world. Many of the great emperors from the eternal chaotic world would not miss their chance to see it. Whoosh! When Jian Wushuang appeared on Thunderbolt Island, many of the great emperors looked at him respectfully. Sword Emperor. Ancient God Emperor. Everyone greeted Jian Wushuang. He nodded his head lightly as he scanned the crowd. However, his gaze paused on Black Dragon Emperor for a short while before moving on. Black Dragon Emperor had a cold aura. She looked at Jian Wushuang with mixed feelings. Everyone knew that she liked Jian Wushuang, but it was a pity he could not love another woman anymore. After Jian Wushuang had rejected her many years ago, she had given up on him. However, she was curious about who Jian Wushuang's wife was and why he kept thinking about her. Jian Wushuang was here for his wife. "Jian Wushuang, you're here," Emperor Bai said as he looked at him. "Yes. The linkway to Heaven's horizon should open anytime now. Let us not waste time and go." Jian Wushuang nodded his head slightly and said, "All right. Let's go." Emperor Bai ordered as they left for Heaven's horizon. Chapter 2263 Heaven's Horizon. This was the outermost area of the eternal chaotic world. This was where heaven and earth ended. Here, there was no life, no mountains or valleys. It was just a space that was dark and misty. This was different from the dark space within the eternal chaotic world. The dark space was extremely vast and seemed endless. On the other hand, there was a limit as there was black mist here. It seemed as though there were restrictions in this dark mist that completely blocked off the eternal chaotic world and the absolute beginning divine world. Jian Wushuang and the other experts took a spaceship and set off from Thunderbolt Island, reached their destination quickly. "Is that Heaven's horizon?" Jian Wushuang stood as he looked at the dark mist in the distance. The dark mist looked so fragile and weak that a gale could simply disperse it. In reality, no ordinary man could open this passageway. "Here is the place," Emperor Bai said with a very serious tone. "This is where the eternal chaotic world ends." Many years ago during the First Era, many experts from the absolute beginning divine world opened a passageway here and sent in a wave of experts. Most of them were in the divine demon realm. There were also some who were more powerful. That battle was extremely tragic. In that era, countless experts and great emperors sacrificed their lives just to keep this world safe. Now, the passageway is about to open again. Who knows if the people over in the absolute beginning divine world will send in another wave of experts. If another wave comes, it will be a disaster for the eternal chaotic world, as the threat is even greater than that of the three emperors' world back in the past. The great emperors turned pale when they heard what Emperor Bai said. After all these years, they had gotten to know certain secrets from the First Era and the ancient past from the experts from the ancient past who had awakened. They knew why the first era had ended. They feared the absolute beginning divine world. Do not worry. The reason why the superpowers from the absolute beginning divine world opened this passageway is so that those experts from the ancient past who awakened can return. They will not completely destroy the eternal chaotic world, Jian Wushuang said. He had discussed this matter with Emperor 13 and One-Star Man and come to that conclusion. Emperor 13 and One-Star Man confirmed this fact, and Emperor 13 sounded very certain. As a man who could go up against the Master of Holy Land, if Emperor 13 said that the absolute beginning divine world would not send in any experts, he should be right. Looks like we are early. Up till now, no expert from the ancient past who awakened has come, the Abysmal Saint Master said. The passageway should open in a few days. It is normal for these experts to not come at this time. Let us wait patiently. They should be here soon, Ancestor Qian Chen said. Yes, let us wait, Emperor Bai said. The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world started to wait in this space patiently. Two figures appeared in the distance as they headed towards them at a very fast speed. Here they are. Two experts from the ancient past. The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world looked over the two figures who were heading closer. One was an elder with red hair, while the other was a woman with blue clothes. Their auras were far stronger than that of any ordinary great emperor. Without a doubt, they were experts from the ancient past. They noticed the presence of Jian Wushuang and experts after they reached Heaven's Horizon. They are from Sanctuary Alliance. Emperor Bai. And that man standing right at the front is Sword Emperor. The elder with red hair and the woman in blue clothes turned pale. They were fearful of Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. Both of them were ordinary experts in the divine demon realm. Under the restriction of heaven and earth, the fighting power they had was similar to that of an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. They were nothing compared to Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. 3,900 years ago, Jian Wushuang had massacred 11 experts in the divine demon realm. We must be careful. Let us not go over there. If Emperor Bai or the Sword Emperor head towards us, we shall escape immediately, the elder man with red hair said. Yes. The woman in blue clothes nodded her head. They did not know why the group of great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance came to Heaven's Horizon. They had to be cautious. After all, they would not joke around when their lives were at stake. However, it was evident that Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai did not want to attack them. They were just gathered there, waiting. Time passed in the blink of an eye. More and more experts reached Heaven's Horizon. 3 days passed. There was not much time left before the passageway would open. Those experts who wished to leave using the passageway had all reached it. In the dark space before Heaven's Horizon, figures filled the entire space. Some were gathered in groups, while others gathered in pairs. One could see hundreds of experts in a single glance. So many people. These people are all experts from the ancient past. The weakest among them have the fighting power of a stage 3 great emperor. They are much stronger than us. I have carefully counted. There are 138 experts. 138? Oh my God! The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world felt as though there was something stuck in their dry throats. Simply thinking of 138 experts with at least the fighting power of a stage 3 great emperor could make one's hair stand on end. Within the eternal chaotic world, only Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and Jian Yi had the fighting power of a stage 3 great emperor. Jian Yi also came from the ancient past. Luckily, Emperor Bai and the Sword Emperor are around as deterrents. If these experts go wild, Ancestor Qian Chen said. Indeed, 138 experts from the ancient past would be disastrous for the eternal chaotic world if Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were not around. Without them, the Sanctuary Alliance would have no way of controlling these experts. The great emperors from the eternal chaotic world felt glad that they had these two incredibly powerful people as their leaders. Chapter 2264 Leng Rushua's appearance. While the great emperors from the eternal chaotic world were looking at the experts from the ancient past, the 138 experts were also studying them with interest. Are those experts from the Sanctuary Alliance? Yes. The two leaders, Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor, are incredibly powerful people. Humph. Incredible? Only in this heaven and earth. If they were in the absolute beginning divine world, they would be nothing without the restriction of heaven and earth. Looks like Sanctuary Alliance also knows that the passageway is about to open at heaven's horizon. Why are they here? Who knows? They can do whatever they want as long as they do not stop us from returning to the absolute beginning divine world. We did follow the rules within heaven and earth. We did not provoke Sanctuary Alliance at all. They have no reason to stop us. Even if they want to stop us, they must have the ability to do so. That is true. The experts from the ancient past chatted casually. They did not hide their disdain towards the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance. Many of them did not even take Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang seriously. Those experts from the ancient past only feared Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang due to the presence of restrictions of heaven and earth. Without it, they would be nothing. Even though the great emperors from the eternal chaotic world were angry at the disdainful comments, they did not dare to act out. The passageway is about to open, but the master of the Holocaust sect has yet to appear. Emperor Bai knitted his eyebrows tightly and said, "No hurry. Let us wait patiently," Jian Wushuang said calmly. He had a lot of patience. He knew that Leng Rushue would definitely come if she were to return to the absolute beginning divine world. It would be better if she did not turn up, as that meant she had definitely stayed behind and Jian Wushuang would not need to go up against the experts from the ancient past. Right then. A unique wave appeared from the black mist at heaven's horizon. Countless numbers of waves spread in all directions like ripples on the surface of a lake. The entire dark space was filled by the unique wave. Is it starting? Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai's irises constricted in shock. Heaven's horizon on its own. This meant that the experts from the absolute beginning divine world on the other side started opening the passageway. The 138 experts from the ancient past also noticed this. They were all elated when they saw the wave gradually getting larger. It is starting. The overlords are opening the passageway. Finally. Ha ha. Am I really going to return to the absolute beginning divine world after being in a slumber for so long? Elation, excitement, anticipation. These emotions were written clearly on the faces of the experts from the ancient past. These experts had been trapped in this heaven and earth for far too long. Ever since this heaven and earth had been sealed off using the Great Formation in the ancient past, they had been completely isolated from their hometown. Their family, friends, and clans were all back in the absolute beginning divine world. Who would not miss their hometown? It was a pity they had not been able to do anything to return for such a long period of time. Today, they had finally got their change to leave. How could they not be elated and excited? At the same time that the change occurred to heaven's horizon, two figures appeared in this space. Jian Wushuang immediately fixed his gaze on one of the figures. They are finally here, Emperor Bai said as he too looked at the two figures. One of them was a young lady wearing white clothes and a veil. Even though the young lady was wearing a veil and no one could see what she looked like, many of the experts were attracted to her aura. This young lady in white clothes was, without a doubt, Leng Rushue. The man who came with Leng Rushue was over 3 meters tall and was built like a mountain. This buff man was Bing Shan. Lord Bing Shan, Hall Master Leng. The experts from the ancient past controlled their emotions and greeted the two respectfully when they saw who they were. Bing Shan was a very powerful man, inferior to only the Master of Holy Land. Leng Rushue was the lineal disciple of Master of Holy Land. Both had incredible backgrounds. The experts from the ancient past should treat them with respect. Master has already started. If everything goes well, the passageway will be opened in half an hour. However, my master has also told me that they can only keep the passageway open for 10 breaths. There is nothing he can do if we do not leave by then, Lang Ayushue said. 10 breaths. If no one were to stop us, we could pass through the passageway almost instantly. However, if someone were to try and stop us, the situation would be different, Bing Shan said coldly. He looked at the experts from Sanctuary Alliance as he said so at the same time. Jian Wushuang was also looking at them. To be more precise, he was looking at Leng Rushue. Things will not be as smooth sailing as they could be. Leng Rushue smiled lightly. She met Jian Wushuang's eyes. She knew what he was about to do. Jian Wushuang had come for her. How could he allow her to step foot into that passageway? Jian Wushuang moved. He started walking from the space where the great emperors from the Sanctuary Alliance were. Are you going to do it now? Emperor Bai knitted his eyebrows and said. The best time to stop Leng Rushue was when the experts from the ancient past were rushing towards the passageway when it opened. At that point in time, all of the experts from the ancient past would be fixated on returning to the absolute beginning divine world. At that point in time, Jian Wushuang only had to stop one person instead of fighting them all, as the experts would be selfish and would want to go back to absolute beginning divine world immediately. It would be less likely they would be worrying about others if the passageway was right in front of their eyes. After all, the passageway could not last long. Hence, the probability of success was much higher. However, there were also other risks if they were to stop her after the passageway opened. Chapter 2265 Bing Shan Leng Rushue stood very close to heaven's horizon. This was so that she could enter the passageway immediately when it finally opened. This instant would pass very quickly. Even though Leng Rushue had become the leader of the Holocaust sect, she had never done anything at all, even during the battle back in the Three Emperors world. No one knew how powerful she really was or what kinds of techniques she had up her sleeves. She seemed much more terrifying as no one knew anything about her. If Leng Rushue really had incredible techniques, she could appear within the passageway without giving Jian Wushuang a chance to react at all. Jian Wushuang would not risk that, so he decided to stop her immediately. He would suppress Leng Rushue in front of all of the experts from the ancient past. This was the safest method. However, there were great difficulties that he would face by using this method. Jian Wushuang took 2 steps and appeared in front of Leng Rushue. He stared at Leng Rushue coldly, not speaking a word. The experts from the ancient past looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Jian Wushuang, it has really been a long time since we last met. Are you still not going to give up? Leng Rushue fixed her gaze on Jian Wushuang as she teased him slowly. VAR Axid 6327 document, ISO 6327, SSP 6327-Math floor date now. Window pubic stag 10,000 years ago. I could not have stopped you from leaving the green fire world. However, I will not allow the same thing to happen twice. I will stop you from leaving this heaven and earth at all costs, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. At all costs. Even if it costs your life. Leng Rushue teased again. Even if it costs my life, Jian Wushuang said firmly. Ha ha. You really are infatuated with her. I do not understand which part of her has attracted you so much that you will do anything for her, Leng Rushue smiled. Heartless people like you will not understand these emotions, Jian Wushuang said. Is that the case? Well, I am excited to see how you will stop me from leaving. Leng Rushue smiled. She turned to the well-built man beside her and said, Lord Bing Shan, sorry to trouble you but I need your help. Okay. Bing Shan nodded his head. After he'd awakened, he had received a direct order from that man from the absolute beginning divine world, which was to escort Leng Rushue back to the absolute beginning divine world safely. Bing Shan would give his all because of the person who had given the order. You are the Sword Emperor? Bing Shan took a step as his giant body blocked Leng Rushue out of sight. I know that you and Palace Master Leng were friends in the past. However, I suggest that you forget the idea of saving her, or simply forget her altogether. Then you will not have to die and can continue to be one of the most powerful men in this heaven and earth and live your life as you wish. If you persist in trying to stop her from leaving, trust me, my lord can kill you even though there are restrictions on heaven and earth. Is that the case? Sadly, I am a stubborn person. If I make up my mind to do something, I will definitely get it done no matter who gets in my way. Even if your lord were to come into this heaven and earth and stand in front of me, I would not give up. Jian Wushuang smiled mockingly. You really are a stubborn man. If you wish to die so badly, then I will send you on your way. Bing Shan's face turned cold as he spoke. He then whipped out a green battle axe and held it in his hand. He did not radiate any blade essence. Bing Shan simply stood there, but there were waves of invisible aura spreading in all directions as the surrounding area turned frosty. The freezing space and the freezing air turned into blades as it started to cut experts. Lord Bing Shan is about to attack. This Jian Wushuang really has courage. He dares to stand up against Lord Bingshan. Lord Bingshan is one step away from being a master of Holy Land. Even though he is under the restrictions of heaven and earth, his fighting power is still much stronger compared to experts like Old Monster Jiao. The Sword Emperor is overestimating himself. Does he think that after killing some divine demons and Old Monster Jiao together with Emperor Bai he is now invincible in this heaven and earth? He has yet to meet experts like Lord Bingshan. Now that Lord Bingshan is angry, no one will be able to save him. The experts from the ancient past mocked. To them, Bingshan was unbeatable. Within the eternal chaotic world, only Emperor 13, who had awakened not too long ago, could match him. They thought that both Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai were no match for Bingshan. Jian Wushuang became serious when he saw the ice blades flying towards him. This man is really strong. He held Blood Mountain's sword in his hand as he prepared himself. Bingshan stared at Jian Wushuang with his emotionless eyes. Suddenly, a flash of fierce radiance burst forth from his eyes. Whoosh! Bingshan moved. His body was 3 meters tall and was extremely well built. Even so, he was incredibly fast as he moved. Terrifying tsunamis of blade essence crashed forth. Crash him not radiating his blade essence was a choice. When he did, it shocked the world. This sword essence. It is really powerful. Jian Wushuang was shocked. The moment Bingshan attacked, Jian Wushuang knew immediately that Bingshan's understanding of the blade doctrine was far deeper than his understanding of the sword doctrine. This was to be expected. After all, Bingshan was an expert one step away from master of Holy Land. He must have entered the blade doctrine realm. Even under the restrictions of heaven and earth, the blade essence he could use was definitely much more than Jian Wushuang, who was only at initial success in the sword doctrine realm, could. Bingshan swung his blade. His blade swung in a straight line. A shiny blade light lit up. The moment the blade light appeared, whatever space-time there was in this heaven and earth was frozen. The might of heaven and earth then started fusing with the blade light. The blade light then became even brighter and longer. It seemed endless. In one moment, there was only one blade light in front of Jian Wushuang. In the next moment, the entire space in front of Jian Wushuang became saturated with blade lights. Chapter 2266 The Extreme Blade Doctrine. Jian Wushuang stood and looked at the overwhelming blade lights sweeping towards him. It was as though he was drowning in an ocean of blade lights. He was as thought he had to force himself to keep still, or else the blade lights would tear him apart. This blade principle is really overpowering, Jian Wushuang commented. He was not afraid to meet this challenge. No matter how incredible Bingshan's blade skills were, they would not be too powerful in this heaven and earth. Here, only the inverse cultivators were unbeatable as they were the only ones not affected by the restrictions of heaven and earth. Jian Wushuang drew his sword. The moment he raised his sword, an incredible sword essence swept forth. Hum as he slashed the space with his right hand, an eerie curve was seen as sword lights appeared. The sword lights were like spiderwebs as they infested the space around Jian Wushuang. Instantly, a giant web made out of sword lights was formed. The sword web seemed endless and it was as though it could cocoon and destroy everything. The ocean of blade lights collided into the ocean of blade lights head-on. Fut! 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 There were no deafening explosions or collisions. All that could be heard were divine powers neutralizing each other. Even though the ocean of blade lights looked extremely bright and shiny, it could not tear the web of sword lights apart. Within moments, all of the blade lights disappeared. Whoosh! The figure that appeared out of the ocean of blade lights belonged to Jian Wushuang. No matter how powerful your blade skills are or how deep your understanding of the blade doctrine is, your power is limited to peak chaotic realm. Even though my sword skills are far weaker yours, the power I have is that of the divine demon realm. I can overpower you. I want to see how you are going to go against me. Jian Wushuang said coldly. When his figure appeared, a terrifying wave of divine power crashed forth. The divine power was like a vast ocean. Under his guidance, sword essence ran rampant within the space. Winds were blowing at such great speeds that they could tear any great emperor apart easily. This wind then blew towards Bingshan, trying to suppress him. Jian Wushuang swung his sword. The sword went for its target immediately. A storm had surrounded Bing Shan completely. Sword Principal Xian Luo. Blast Rainstorm. Bing Shan stood tall at the center of the storm. The battle axe he was holding radiated gloom. He had an indifferent expression. An unprecedentedly violent and ruthless aura radiated from Bing Shan. It was as though Bing Shan was a demon from hell, not a human cultivator. It was as though he lost his sense of reasoning. Chop, chop, chop. My battle blade does not back off from anyone. My battle bald is unstoppable. My battle blade will destroy all that stands in my way. Even though Bing Shan was in the middle of a storm, he ignored all defense as he continued his attack with his battle blade. Waves of blade lights were emitted from his hands. Every single blade light looked as though it was headed for infinity and beyond. It seemed powerful enough to slice through everything. He went purely on the offense. Crash! The seemingly endless storm was torn apart mercilessly by the blade light as the storm dissipated. The blade light that was headed for infinity and beyond continued for Jian Wushuang fiercely. Jian Wushuang's face turned pale. This man's blade skills. Jian Wushuang had known that Bing Shan's blade skills were far more powerful than his sword skills from his initial attack. Jian Wushuang's understanding of the sword doctrine was nothing compared to Bing Shan's understanding of the blade doctrine. However, he was not afraid as Bing Shan was under the restrictions of heaven and earth, which limited him to the power of his blade skills. However, Jian Wushuang had underestimated Bing Shan. Back in the absolute beginning divine world, Bing Shan had been one step away from being a master of Holy Land. His understanding of the blade doctrine was already at the peak. He had already formed his own unique blade doctrine. His blade doctrine was to destroy everything that stood in his way, no matter how powerful it was. He would never back down. His sword doctrine was a purely offensive one. His blade would only attack, never defend. In other words, his defense was to destroy everything in front of him with brute force. The best defense is offense. This guy. His blade doctrine is extremely offensive, which has made his attacks unbelievably powerful, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. This was still the case even when Bing Shan could not use the full power of his blade doctrine as he was under the restrictions of heaven and earth. How powerful was he when he'd used such extreme blade skills back in his prime? Jian Wushuang could not picture it. D. Bing Shan yelled madly. It was as though Bing Shan had been taken over by a demon. His blade skills were headed for infinity and beyond. Waves of terrifying blade skills, which were simple yet overpowering, headed for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was stressed. Even though his sword skills were no match for Bing Shan's blade skills, Jian Wushuang thought he could stop the blades with the mixed element spirit style from Sword Principal Xian Luo as his divine power was far stronger than that of Bing Shan. He soon realized that Bing Shan's blade skills were not only overpowering, but also endless. The blade lights hit continuously without giving him a chance to take a break. When Jian Wushuang chose to use mixed element spirit to fend off the attacks, he knew he would be on the passive end as there was no way he could counterattack. Bing Shan would not give him a chance to do so. This man's blade skill is too terrifying. Jian Wushuang was completely shocked. The experts from the ancient past took a sharp breath when they saw this scene. Too powerful. Lord Bing Shan's blade skills are far too powerful. What kind of person is Lord Bing Shan? Even under the restrictions of heaven and earth, there is no way we can compare ourselves to him. His blade skills are really extreme. It goes purely for power and aims for infinity. Even though it is extreme, it is incredibly powerful. Unless you are in a higher realm than Lord Bing Shan, once you are suppressed, you will be suppressed until you are defeated. It seemed straightforward and dumb. However, once you reach Lord Bing Shan's level, you need not fear anyone anymore. The experts from the ancient past were all well educated. They knew clearly how overbearing Bing Shan's blade skills were. This type of blade skill or blade doctrine was so rare that it could be classified in a category of its own. However, these types of alternative blade skills were still fatal and powerful in a battle. Just like in the battle against Jian Wushuang. Even though Jian Wushuang had incredible power and a decent understanding of the sword doctrine, once he decided to withstand Bing Shan's blade skills, he had to do it all the way till the end. 2267 wounded in the battlefield. Before the eyes of many, Jian Wushuang was being pushed back. Despite that, Jian Wushuang seemed relatively calm. I trained in the Sword Doctrine Trial Tower for 1,000 years and reached initial success with my sword principle. But Bing Shan's saber principle at his pinnacle period is unfathomable. Even with the restrictions placed on the earth, he is still so much stronger than I had expected. His saber principle should be at great achievement, maybe near complete satisfaction by now, Jian Wushuang thought. Saber principle, great achievement, was the level Bing Shan could demonstrate. It may be slightly higher than Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang knew deep inside that the small differences added up to a too big difference. His arrogant saber skills have completely suppressed me. I can only block him, but that way I cannot find a way to fight back if that's the case. Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold. If resisting is not the way, I guess I need to fight fire with fire. Hua! Jian Wushuang pulled out his sword at lightning speed as the Blood Mountain sword cut a certain curvature across the void, like a ghost moving in the air. The sword was flexible and went straight for Bing Shan's throat. Jian Wushuang did not bother blocking Bing Shan's arrogant saber and let it strike at him. Dang! The saber struck Jian Wushuang's head, and a metallic sound could be heard. Jian Wushuang was wearing the 5-gem armor, greatly weakening the saber's power. Jian Wushuang let out a pained sound but recovered instantly. His sword light went straight for Bing Shan's throat. But before it pierced his throat, Jian Wushuang felt a large force of resistance surrounding Bing Shan's body. It was invisible, but Jian Wushuang felt it. It was formed entirely from his saber essence. It formed an armor of saber essence. His sword only knows how to attack, but that's not his full potential. He has a powerful protection secret skill with him, and that is how he defends. Jian Wushuang said. If Bing Shan only had scary attack abilities, Jian Wushuang would not be too worried. But he has an armor formed from saber essence as his self-defense mechanism. That would prove tough to settle. D. Bing Shan's eyes were bloodshot and cut down towards Jian Wushuang frenzied. Jian Wushuang's face darkened and he retreated. As he retreated, Xiao, 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 Xiao. 9 streaks of golden light emerged. Those were Jian Wushuang's 9 Hongjun golden swords. Not only were they powerful, but they were fast as well, and appeared in front of Bing Shan within an instant. And they came for Bing Shan in all directions. Hongjun golden swords? Bing Shan seemed to be in a frenzy, but he had absolute clarity, recognizing the swords immediately. Ha ha! If you could form the first formation with those swords, you could make a dent. But you can't even do that, and you want to block me? Bing Shan laughed disdainfully. His saber did not stop. Endless saberlight was still heading towards Jian Wushuang, and he did not block the 9 Hongjun golden swords. His saber skills only know how to attack. Dang! 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 The 9 Hongjun golden swords struck his saber essence armor. Without piercing him, the swords were all deflected by his armor. What a scary self-defense secret skill. My Hongjun golden swords did nothing to it. Jian Wushuang was astonished. Boy, I told you, don't get cocky. You don't even know how big the world is, and you dare prevent Lord Lang from heading towards the absolute beginning divine world? A joke, Bing Shan said. Is it? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold and rushed out like a ghost. Cut. Bing Shan returned to his saber and cut down. The dark void was instantly split into half. Shimmering saberlight appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank at the sight of the saber light, but he had no intention to defend. If blocking meant being suppressed, he would rather take the blow. Looking for death. Bing Shan was enraged. Looking for death. Ha ha, you are the true myopic one. Your self-defense mechanisms are strong, but mine is 1,000-fold better. Jian Wushuang bellowed and allowed the saber to cut down at him. Jian Wushuang shuddered for a moment. Soon his sword pierced out. An ordinary, powerless blade, but as it pierced the void an enormous reincarnation power started exuding outwards. Sword principle. Samsara. Bing Shan did not block it either. He had absolute confidence in his saber essence armor. He believed Jian Wushuang could not hurt him in any way. As the cold blade touched his saber essence armor, the reincarnation power was exuded. It was a strange power. The saber essence where the sword tip touched the armor started transforming the strong sword essence from before had reverted to the saber principle origin. Yes, the origin. Saber essence had been formed with saber principle origin. Under the influence of the reincarnation power, that small area of saber essence reverted back to the origin. The armor disintegrated. What? Bing Shan could feel something was not right, but it was too late. Kai. The cold blade struck Bing Shan's body without interference. A hole was made in his body. It only hurt his skin and bones, nothing vital, but without a doubt, Jian Wushuang had injured Bing Shan. 2268 Reincarnation in the Void. Both Jian Wushuang and Bing Shan stopped whatever they were doing. Jian Wushuang stood there coldly. Bing Shan stood there as well. By then his murderous intent and frenzy had dissipated. He stood there frowning as he watched blood oozing out from his body. The surrounding ancient era experts were shocked. Lord Bing Shan is injured? How? It's Lord Bing Shan. One step away from being master of Holy Land, Lord Bing Shan was injured by a chaotic realm rascal? Unbelievable. The ancient era experts were all in awe. If they had not witnessed it for themselves, they would not have believed it. As ancient era experts, they knew how strong Bing Shan was. VAR Axid 6327 document, IXO 6327, SSP 6327-Math floor date now. Window pubic stag window pubic stag Bing Shan's saber skills were powerful and he not only knew how to attack, his self-defense mechanism was even more terrifying. That combination of saber skills and saber essence armor made him famous in the absolute beginning divine world. They had never expected him to get injured during the fight against Jian Wushuang. The armor did not block Jian Wushuang's sword. That blade. Bing Shan stared at Jian Wushuang as he felt his sword essence armor changing. You could use reincarnation rules of order to revert my sword essence back into the origin. It's not much, but you managed to injure me. Decent swordsmanship, even better reincarnation rules of order. Bing Shan knew that even though his swordsmanship was good, how he utilized reincarnation rules of order was even better. Jian Wushuang's realization of reincarnation rules of order was not high, most likely he was new to it, but already he was very familiar with it. To apply reincarnation rules of order to swordsmanship and morph objects back to their original state was impossible even for higher experts from back in the absolute beginning divine world. Thank you. Jian Wushuang's eyes were cold, and he was not delighted at all. He knew it was all thanks to One-Star Man's reincarnation pearl. The small-scale reincarnation within the pearl had helped Jian Wushuang tremendously. No, just in terms of realization, Jian Wushuang's usage of reincarnation rules of order had significantly improved over the past 3,000 years. Samsara was his strongest self-created skill. It is not the most powerful, but the terrifying part came with the reincarnation at the tip of his blade. He could make fauna reincarnate, along with natural materials. He could revert Bing Shan's sword essence, but only by a bit. But that was enough to give Jian Wushuang a shot. Guess I underestimated you. I thought I could defeat you or at least suppress you under these restrictions. I never expected your reincarnation rules of order to make such a huge improvement across these 1,000 years. Even I can no longer defeat you. I may even lose to you, Bing Shan said. It was true. He had a perfect combination of attack and defense. His saber skills would destroy everything in his way. His saber essence armor would block everything else. It was a scary combination. But now, Jian Wushuang's samsara made his armor useless, losing his self-defense mechanism. Even though Jian Wushuang couldn't go against his saber skills, he had unbelievable self-defense mechanisms. Even if he were to absorb the full blow from Bing Shan, it would be Bing Shan who got injured first. I could defeat you, but I could never kill you, Jian Wushuang said. He knew that well. Bing Shan's fighting power was way stronger than that of any other divine demon he had even met, including old monster Jiao. Only Emperor 13 could be stronger than him. It was impossible for Jian Wushuang to kill him. Even though you are stronger than I imagined, I will keep to my word. Bing Shan stared at Jian Wushuang. As strong as you are only limited to this land, a chaotic realm like you could never go against those lords at the absolute beginning divine world. How will I know if I don't try? Jian Wushuang said. Bing Shan frowned but did not say more. He looked at the ancient era experts and said, "Guys, it should be clear why they would want to open the link passage for us." After hearing that, many ancient era experts looked confused. They had been trapped for too long a time, but the absolute beginning divine world had never really cared about them. Most of the ancient era experts were at most chaotic divine demons, which meant they were nothing but ants to the masters of Holy Land. The only person one could consider not an ant would be Bing Shan. Because of that, the experts at absolute beginning divine world never bothered about them. When they opened the link passage in the first era, they did not wake the experts there up. It had always been the case, and the chaotic divine demons knew. But now, the absolute beginning divine world had opened the link passage for them to escape. But where had this opportunity come from? The ancient era experts looked at the masked white-clothed woman at the center of the void. Chapter 2269 Public Wrath Above the Void. No one could decipher the white-clothed woman Lang Rushua's reaction due to her veil, but her brows showed nothing but mockery. The ancient era experts started talking amongst each other. They knew they owed it to Lang Rushua. Lang Rushua with her heavenly body was the lineal disciple if that master of Holy Land back at the absolute beginning divine world, and that master treated her with incomparable importance. The reason why the master of Holy Land would sacrifice so much to open the link passage was only to bring Lang Rushua back. The ancient era experts simply hitchhiked. Since the link passage was already open, they felt they might as well bring everyone back. Seems like you all are aware. Bing Shan looked around and smiled. Lord Lang is the reason why the link passage will open. If Lord Lang's stuck here, do you really think you will be able to return to the absolute beginning divine world? Even if you do, what do you think the master will do to you? Bing Shan's words shocked many. It was what they had been worrying about. The main purpose was to bring Lang Rushua over to the absolute beginning divine world. If they left her and departed, they would definitely suffer the wrath of the master. The ancient era experts made their decision. Figures gradually approached from the edges of the void. In an instant, they had surrounded Jian Wushuang at the center. The ancient era experts had their eyes all fixed on Jian Wushuang. Sword Emperor, we should not go over your personal grievances with Lord Lang, but since it is only due to her that we can leave. You know what I mean. A magnificent voice came from Chen Qi. Chen Qi had followed Old Monster Jiao to attack Thunderbolt Island but had been obliterated by Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang's powers struck fear into Chen Qi as well. But despite that, he was in no position to back down. Previously, it had been to return Old Monster Jiao a favor, but now it was for the smooth departure from the land. The other ancient era experts felt similarly. Sword Emperor, we are not willing to be your enemies, but we have no choice. After so many years of slumber, if I don't take this chance to escape, I will die in my sleep. Keeping Lord Lang here means keeping all of us here. Sword Emperor, we hope you can make the right decision. Sword Emperor, please don't push us down that road. Threatening words came from their mouths one by one. The ancient era experts were all determined. As they had said, keeping Lord Lang would be to keep all of them there. They would never agree to that. Show. A figure appeared beside Jian Wushuang. It was Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang, what should we do? Emperor Bai frowned as he glanced at all the ancient era experts. With Jian Wushuang and Bing Shan, he did not interfere. But he would certainly not back down knowing that everyone was targeting Jian Wushuang. They are right. Blocking Lang Rushua would be to block all of them, pushing them to a dead end. But letting Lang Rushua would be pushing me to a dead end as well. Jian Wushuang was determined. He needed no second thoughts. He made his decision before arriving at heaven's horizon. And once a decision was made, Jian Wushuang would not waver. I said, I need to stay here regardless of the price. No one can stop me. That cold voice resonated across the land. Lang Rushua's mockery grew more intense as she revealed a playful smile under her veil. The ancient era expert's eyes turned bloodshot. Don't blame us, Sword Emperor. Chen Qi's voice was eerie cold. Let's take him down. The ancient era experts did not hesitate. Without Bing Shan, there were still 138 ancient era experts. At that moment, All 138 were charging towards Jian Wushuang from all directions. HNGH. Emperor Bai snorted, as the shimmering enormous golden emperor appeared behind him. At that moment, a golden armored figure appeared around him. He had used both the 9-star armor and Punisher God. Jian Wushuang gazed upon the incoming ancient era experts. Although most of them were chaotic divine demons, hitting 3rd stage great emperor fighting powers at most, there were 10-odd experts beyond chaotic divine demon like Chen Qi and Old Monster Jiao. Each of them was at half-step divine demon levels. Those in my way, prepare to meet your fate. Jian Wushuang was furious as he pulled out his Blood Mountain sword beaming with crimson light. A terrifying aura oppressed the entire area. War had broken out. Crap. The great emperors of the eternal chaotic world all witnessed it from a void not too far away. When they saw the ancient era experts charge towards Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai, their faces changed dramatically. But no matter how anxious they were, there was nothing much they could do. Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai had instructed them not to make any rash decisions. After all, they were only 1st stage and 2nd stage great emperors. Sending them to ancient era experts would be asking them to die. Chapter 2270 Chaotic Warfare in a dark void some distance away from the battlefield. Ha ha, the show has begun. A cheerful laugh resonated as more than a dozen figures stood around. They all had impressive auras and the 1-star man was their leader. They had been at the void for some time already but had not yet decided to reveal themselves. They were shocked when they witnessed the fight between Jian Wushuang and Bing Shan. Now, they saw the war happening in front of their eyes as well. 100-odd experts, the weakest one a chaotic divine demon. They really embarrassed themselves using so many people against 2 chaotic realms. They have no choice. They can only demonstrate chaotic realm level powers anyway under the restrictions. If they go one-on-one, they will certainly die. 1-star man, the war has begun, should we just watch? The dozen people looked towards 1-star man. No rush, the 1-star man waved his hand and said, it's not time yet. The boy's going against 100-odd chaotic divine demon experts. You're not worried? A grey-clothed old lady asked. Relax, the boy is tougher than he looks and he learnt inverse cultivation. It won't be that easy to kill him. The 1-star man smiled. He was confident in Jian Wushuang. The grey-clothed old lady raised an eyebrow. Seems like you know quite a bit about this boy. But what is the plan between you and that guy? Seems like the plan relies mostly upon the boy. The others all looked towards 1-star man. They had known for the longest time that the 1-star man had a plan, but only a few people really knew what it was about. Although they were 7-star Black Sect experts, they didn't have enough clearance. They simply followed orders. No rush, soon you will know, 1-star man replied. The grey-clothed old lady and the others looked at each other but did not question further. The black void at heaven's horizon had already been immersed in the heat of war. Bing Shan did not attack again and retreated back to Lang Rushua's side. Lord Bing Shan, how did it feel? Lang Rushua looked at Bing Shan. A bit aggrieving. Bing Shan looked at the place where Jian Wushuang had stabbed him. The wounds had recovered, but he could still feel the sting. Before going against Jian Wushuang, he had never expected Jian Wushuang to harm him. My Saber Essence armor was mainly divine power, supplemented with Saber Essence. But the restrictions reduced my divine power to chaotic realm levels. If I had even half-step divine demon divine powers, the armor would have never been penetrated by the Sword Emperor, Bing Shan said. Jian Wushuang's samsara was unique with its reincarnation techniques, but in the eyes of Bing Shan, it was no more than a parlor trick. Unfortunately, under the restrictions, parlor tricks were enough to injure him. That was why Bing Shan felt aggrieved. I underestimated him, but it's okay, it'll all end the same. The divine demons would block him all the way, maybe even kill him. With them blocking, Sword Emperor would have no way to reach to you, Bing Shan said. May not be that way, Lang Rushua shook her head. May not. Bing Shan looked over astonished. You think Sword Emperor could survive the divine demon's attack? More than just survive. He's an inverse cultivation after all. Lang Rushua laughed. Watch. Bing Shan was astonished but did not ask anything further and spectated the fight. There were 138 ancient-era experts making their moves on Jian Wushuang at the same time from all sides. And they all demonstrated their abilities. They did everything they could. Some sealed space-time to restrict his movements. Some formed great divine powers to press against Jian Wushuang. Some used long-range divine weapons like the Hongjun golden swords against Jian Wushuang, and some directly charged against him. Some used soul attacks. The widespread attack went for Jian Wushuang at immense speeds. Jian Wushuang's eyes were gleaming. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand let out a loud scream as the sword essence pierced him. Scram! A loud sound followed by endless divine power swept from the Blood Mountain sword. The sweep was like a multicolored sword river in the sky. And the sword river was fierce and roared upon impact. Several attacks directly bounced out. Space-time seals were destroyed and billowing divine powers retreated in an instant. Endless divine power came bursting from Jian Wushuang's body and formed a huge region around him. He had filled the region with chaotic divine demon-level divine power. With that around, the divine demons could not use any space-time or divine power suppression methods against him. Hualala, a sword appeared from the heavens. It was a crimson sword. The person wielding it was a man beyond chaotic divine demon. The crimson light blocked the sun and went straight for Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang lifted his head but did not pull out his sword. Instead, a huge sword essence concentrated in midair to form a sword shadow and slice it. Dang! A metallic collision could be heard, and the crimson sword bounced out. Hong! A ghost, billowed by netherlight, appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, holding a battle sword. Shua! 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 3 times the man swayed his battle sword. The first sword went for his throat. The second went for his heart. The third went straight for his skull.